Inside at last.
Welcome, fellow Teffers, to Inside at Last, the one and only thief dedicated podcast. As always, my name is Alex, and today I'm joined by Jiggity Jake and Seth the Seth. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
And we have a very important topic to discuss. Some people might have heard about the niche project, the Black Parade, and gladly we have two of the creators here, SKACKY and FIREMAGE. Thanks for joining us. Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine.
Doing well as well. Hi.
We had a lot of questions from the community. So I think basically we will mostly do that. But before we dive into that, I want to ask you guys now, 3/4 of a year after its release, it was a little Christmas present from you guys to the community last year. How are you feeling with it now? How was the reception? Are you still happy with the release?
Yeah, very much so. It was it kind of exceeded my expectations. My expectations. I didn't think it would be that well received, to be honest. I mean, I knew we had something good, but you know, you never know how things are going to get received.
And FireMage?
To me, it's about the same feeling because Thief is a niche game, and we were definitely expecting the community to enjoy it, but definitely not bringing new players to the community or even have some famous name talking about our project. That was very crazy to see how much the mod got noise about its
Hmm.
existence.
Yeah, I checked recently Mandalore's video again, and it has almost like 600,000 views, which is insane.
Wow. I didn't know that. I watched it, but I didn't look at the views actually. But that's really impressive.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of taken on a life of its own.
And there were articles on professional gaming magazines, and then the number one ModDB Mod of the Year award, if that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the case.
And
Yeah.
praise from all over the community and whatnot. And now the highlight invitation to the podcast. What else can you expect?
Nothing.
It's all been leading up to this. It's all been leading up to this, of course.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But I think even I was overwhelmed by. I knew that the community would love this. This is like a Thief 2X in our times, and it's really huge. But this coverage was actually insane, and I was really, really impressed by it and very happy. And I think you guys did a very great job, of course, in what you worked on and what you released, but also for the community. I think this is one of the biggest things that happened since Thief 2X, I would say, which is 20 years old. And thank you for that, because it brought new people to the community. And we've seen with like Marbleman and that even newer people that joined recently or some years ago can do great things later and being authors and stuff like that. And that's really, really cool. So you're gods now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Jake, Seth, is there anything you want to say about it before we dive into the fan questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, going off of that topic, did you guys? Why do you guys think that it blew up so much with the wider gaming community? Like you said, it kind of crossed over a little bit to like Mandalore's video, and I even saw it on some general video game websites that were talking about it. Why do you guys think it kind of blew up like that?
But I don't have a definite answer. I think that it might be due to sort of resurgence of immersive sims in general for a few years with projects like Gloomwood, of course, and there's a overlap between Gloomwood players and Thief players. I know that we have a lot of fans on the New Blood Discord, which is kind of cool. and I don't know, maybe it was like a lot of word of mouth, and the project had been anticipated for years. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
I'm I'm agree with you, Skaki. It's very hard to really know why it happens that way, but yeah, I guess it just came right in time with the right people around and the right project involved with hype, and of course our community, which is broader than we think, which certainly gave a word here and there, and then mention the game. After all, we are reaching a time in which our generation of gamer is pretty much nostalgic about old games. So Thief was certainly a case of nostalgia game. So the fact we have released Black Parade 25 years after its release, I think it has certainly had its little impact to have so much attention from people. But that's just one theory about many others, I think.
I think
I think you hit the
that's
nail on the head.
I think it's a mix of all of these things.
Yeah.
Maybe it actually was the right time for you guys to release it. I think among the community, it would always have been a huge thing, but now everything came together. People were hyped up about the genre. With yeah, I think Gloomwood is one of the bigger examples, but even Filcher, was like
Absolutely.
2021, and we have there are so many things going on in that genre, and I think you hit the nail. And this is like the original, some inspiration from Thief is all over these games.
That's
But
exactly what I was going to say. We're going on 30 years from the original, 2 competitions for the first game, for the second game, and I think Black Parade is very reminiscent of the original campaign in that it has a comparable number of missions and it exceeds the quality of the original in a lot of ways. So I think there are a lot of reasons why it's so popular.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't even intend to release for the 25th anniversary at first. It was like a happy coincidence because we had been behind for years at this point.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, we need to finish this thing. And it's like, oh, we're in 2023. It's the 25th anniversary in November. Let's just gun for it, let's just do it. And we did it.
That's pretty
Yes.
that's pretty awesome. That's what I was gonna ask too. Was there like, if you guys remember, was there like a target date? I mean, you just said that you guys were a little bit off, of course, but like, did you guys imagine? It sounds like you guys didn't imagine it taking till 2023.
No, we had a slew of soft release dates, but we never reached them. So
Nothing
it
ever
kept
hammered
getting.
down. That's understandable.
Yeah,
We never stop to push the deadline every
oh yeah,
time.
it was so annoying, but worth it in the end.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point though earlier that you brought up with immersive sims, right? Because there seems to be more of like a movement and more of a certain audience for that kind of thing that there maybe wasn't even when like Thief 2X came out. So I think that's a really interesting point that you
Oh yeah,
brought up, because I
for
do
sure.
notice like there's definitely a immersive sim fan that didn't exist certainly when the original game came out and even when the early fan missions are coming out. So I thought that was really interesting. I think that's a interesting point.
I believe one factor also might be the artwork, because the cover made by my name. Please drop the name for me.
Dominus.
Dominus, of course.
Dominus.
Yes, man. The cover looks like it could be an original thing, and that
It's fantastic. It really is.
intrigues people. And then there's I just call him old guy, which I had for a time, as an avatar in my Discord. I think were so intriguing that you had to look what is it all about.
Oh, the artists we have are really, really amazing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like the originals, but what I like, you stay true to it, but still it has its own vibe. And yeah,
Don't underestimate good art, I feel like, to draw people's interest. I do agree with you, Alex. Like, it's fantastic. Domus did a great job. It's so striking, and it just instantly draws your eye to be like, oh, what is this? Like, this is cool. I want to see what this is. And then, of course, it being, free if you own the game just makes it a no-brainer.
what I remember when you talked about the release date and it keeping rescheduled. I remember that I did my voice lines. I think it was in 2020, and from that on, I thought, okay, when they are already working on this, they are really far into it. But then I was able to, I was able to be on your Discord where you did all your communication or a lot of it, and then I saw, oh, there are sketches of like scenes, and it was really amazing to see how you put that together. Then the sketch was made again and again, and then suddenly there was a video of a um, of a cutscene, of course, hidden on YouTube, and it was great to watch. And it was like, okay, there's several things to do, I think. And then you surprised us all.
Yeah, we had Whale Oil and Whitecha who drew some artworks for us, which are all, like amazing. And then we had a briefing artist, Mensch, who just animated
Yes.
all of that stuff.
Yes, Mensch did the animation of the faction introduction and also the main introduction cutscene. And he was using a tool named Adobe Final Cut for this animation. But I think that is a question about our tool, so I'll go deeper in the topic when it will come to it. But yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of it, let's dive into the questions. Just a disclaimer, we will spoil probably. So if you haven't played it or don't want to know about certain things, then listen to this after you played through the campaign. It's quick, short, just like 15, 20 hours, no problem. And what I also want to say, we couldn't take in all the questions. We had like 11 pages of questions or stuff. So we have chosen the more open questions for SKACKY and FIREMAGE to answer. So please don't be mad at us if your question is not in here, but we have our reasons. So first question from Snake. SKACKY, as the project lead, what were the factors considered when inviting other authors to join the team, and how did you go about asking them?
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. I envisioned the Black Parade as a solo project at first, but it was supposed to be very low poly, like if it could have been released back in 2000. So with the old limits, pretty much still running on New Dark, but with an emphasis on old limits. And then I was considering working with a FIREMAGE and Squad of Front. We worked on the Chalice of Souls back in 2015, which was like an experiment to see if we could work together, and thought that the collaboration was really cool. So I'm like, hey guys, I have this project I want to show you. What do you think about it? And they were like, oh, it's really cool, but let's make it like Chalice of Souls. Let's make it like crazy. So they started working with me, and then we had DRK, who was already with us in our Discord, and he had shown interest in working on it with us. And for a few years, it was the four of us, but we started stalling on some missions. It was like, oh, we cannot do this. I'm not good making catacombs. So we looked at some offers, and we had a short list of like maybe 5 or 6, and Dirk Bogan, Marbleman, and Schlock made the cut because they had very similar visions to us while still having their own identities. And even if I'm the project lead, I still try to be pretty horizontal. So I also chose people whom I knew didn't have ego problems. And I think that really paid off in the end.
I want to tell the true story about this. You guys came together and you were like, okay, what can we do as a campaign that includes everything Alex doesn't like about Thief?
Despite you personally.
Yeah, I think that was your goal and you achieved it. um, I'm kidding.
And then they asked you to voice act and made you complicit in its creation.
Yeah, right. And I didn't know what I was in for. No,
The final piece of mockery. You got.
and you basically sucked in all the great authors, so they were all busy working on that, because I think in the very intense time, that was the feeling, I think, amongst many, that was like, oh, this contest didn't just have 3 entries, yeah, but they are all working on the Black Parade, but was it a bit like that? Do you can you say that the project made everybody so busy that maybe the activity for other missions wasn't available?
Not really, because we still worked on our projects on the side. I mean, we released a ton of missions for the 20th anniversary for both FIF 1 and 2.
That's true.
I didn't participate in FIF 2, but I still had an idea for a mission, but it didn't make the cut. And we have a ton of other projects on the side, but we still had the Black Parade as the main project. But what made us work on side missions was like, we are fed up with this big thing. I wanna work on this a bit, just to um, you know.
Yeah, it was Black Parade has become a bit like a work after our actual work.
Mhm.
If you know what I mean. So sometimes it was a bit refreshing to have a little project of our own, like some sort of break, you see. So we could get back to Black Parade more motivated and more creative than before.
Yeah, and we also worked on the 1 million units contest as well, which was a really interesting exercise compared to the ginormous maps for Black Parade, something very compact.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a distraction from the thing you work on. I can relate to that. And so, but we could solve the mystery that some created this thing that, yeah, they are all working on it, so things aren't released. So yeah, it's basically not true, and I think people can look it up, that there were many entries among the contests. And yeah, you still worked on that. So uh the next question was by Melan and Lady Teffer. What didn't become part of the campaign? What major stuff was cut, and for what reasons? And how did the campaign change and evolve over the design process?
Okay, so it might surprise you, but almost nothing was cut.
Yeah. We had some stuff that got modified to fit in because too buggy or Dark Engine just told us, nope, it's too much. But everything is in the box.
Yeah, pretty much
Just
everything's in.
being carved to fit in the box.
Like, actually, there's a CD section that got cut entirely, but that's pretty much the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, we can think about some concept that got simplified, such as the tracking potion, which got changed into the spirit potion.
Oh yeah.
The tracking potion was supposed at first to generate footsteps of every guard for a certain time, so you know when a guard has been, and then guess all the patrol route without having to spy the guard. But the thing it was, such an effect was generating way too much object, so the game was getting laggy as fuck. So we had to change this concept. We tried many solutions, but none of them worked or didn't bug at some part. So we just ended up with a new ID which replaced the ancient one. And the same for the acrobatic keeper from mission 6. This one was actually supposed to do some jump or climbing ladders through the city. It was working until we found out if a PC with a different frame rate was witnessing the keeper doing his acrobatic moves. We had the problem with the synchronized motion or physical properties of the keeper. So it was too hard to fix. So we just decided to make the keeper walking normally. instead of doing some acrobatic moves.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking to get rid of this because it was so impressive.
I could imagine. I would
Yeah.
have loved to see that. But are there like some videos of it that you can maybe release someday?
Maybe I kept somewhere the scripts I use for it, as in the final release, the script for the Acrobatic Keeper was an attempt to fix it, and it was even more buggy than before. So maybe if we search in our archives, I can find the version in which the Acrobatic Keeper and its script were both working. So maybe I could release this as a bonus if someday I'm not lazy and find the time to do this.
Oh, that would be cool. I remember your videos of all those things you do, or some concepts you did in the 3D department. You did the snake, right?
The Cobra Man, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it is here. I have tried several times to recreate it during the my solo project I did before Black Parade, AGS Forgotten Creature, which is a thread you can find at TTLG if you need a model of the scrap creatures from Thief Gold. And in the box, you will see most of Cobra Man were pretty much broken or working, but not the best way it could work. So that's for the reason in Black Parrot I've decided to take this case very seriously and then make it actually work.
And you succeeded in that. Who did the horse?
Yes.
I know we come later to the horse. Um,
Always
Star
the
of the
horse.
show.
Yeah, the
Yes.
famous horse.
It is, but Jake, please, Seth, please go on.
You want me to go to the next question?
Yes.
You got it. So we're moving on to story and lore. So how was the story of Black Parade created? How was it broken down into individual missions? What was the process? And how many members of the Black Parade team contributed to the story? This question's from Jawbreaker.
Okay, so I wrote the initial story for Black Parade. So my rationale was this. So the first game is about the pagans, the second game about the mechanists, and the third about the keepers. And I'm like, what faction could be interesting to explore? And I thought about the hand mages. They are always in the background, but in Thief 1 and 2, you have mentions of, well, you visit their compound in Gold, but you have mentions of Azaran the Cruel, and he was supposed to be one of the main players in Thief 2 Gold. And I'm like, why not make Azaran the antagonist? And then I had the plot for the missions rather than the opposite, and it all evolved from that. And afterwards, there have been rewrites, especially from Marbleman and Dirk Bogan, but pretty much everyone participated. And we all pretty much contributed to writing the actual lore and readables you can find in the game. It was a complete team effort on that front.
Yeah. The main line is Skacky's work. The plot all feeling was Jeff Bogan and Marbleman job. And for the lore canon we use in Black Parade, then almost all our solo project missions. Well, let's say it's a lore canon we keep ourselves, make some common ideas, but keep some freedom in it as well. We have our own theory about some topics, about some facts explained in some missions, which is not official and nothing like that. We have our own ideas within this lore canon.
But how did you keep it together? Because when so many people work on something and come up with ideas, who decided, or how did you decide at the end what to do? Or because you have to bring it to a final point at the end, so everything makes sense. Was that a process? Was that like some discussion, or did it just work out?
No, it was a lot of discussions. Actually, we have a gigantic Google document detailing all kinds of stuff. Some things that you will never see, that is sometimes mentioned in passing, but it's so cryptic that nobody
Yes.
picked up on it. And we were always like posting what we were writing about, and we were discussing it. and I think it turned out really well in the end. We would talk
Yeah.
about a lot of different things, really, different subjects within the world.
Do you
Would
think
you ever
like
consider releasing any of the documentation?
Yes, maybe.
I'd be very curious to see that. That's always very exciting.
did
Yeah.
anybody ever see somebody writing something and go, "Oh, that's a great idea. Like I'm going to tie this into this," since you all had it in the Google document.
Oh yes, that happened all the time.
So that's
Yes,
a lot of. Go ahead, sorry.
most part of time it was natural. Yes, we came with an idea, we discussed about it, and someone said, "Hey, it's cool. Let's keep it. Let's reuse this idea."
But that often happens with the craziest ideas. Actually, it's like someone writes something that sounds like bullshit, and it's like, "Oh, we can make this cool."
Yes.
But I think that's the creative process. That's creativity when people come together with some strange thing and single-handedly you would say no, but there are many
Yeah.
things circling around it and brains, and then you make it work.
Yeah,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
it's all a matter of trusting the people you work with.
Yeah, I can say what as I said, I had the opportunity to see a bit behind the scenes in the Discord you had, and it was very interesting how serious you took everything. Of course, there were jokes, where jokes were able
Mhm.
to do, but still, I remember, when I sent in my first lines, and people were very. It was like. You coming to a job interview, there was no warm welcome. There was just serious. No, that not. Could you please do that? This okay? Thank you. Or not even, not even a thank you. It's not criticism, but it was really serious.
No,
Which
it was like, I mean, if you were a fly on the wall, you would see like we were like tax inspectors, but still joking at the coffee machine.
Exactly, yeah, the very great picture, yeah. But it was very interesting to see that, and since the fact you are not a professional studio, you have this. You gave yourself the name. How do I spell that?
Oh, it's Fayad. It's called
Fayad.
Fayad
Okay.
Industries. Yeah.
Okay. Fayad Industries. You came up with that, but you're not a company, so it was very interesting to see how serious things since really were, and I think the finish shows, yeah, that it was really really good work you did there. Yeah, Jake.
Yes. How do you say this? Schmoover? Schmauver?
Schmoover, I would say.
Schmoover? Schmauver? Well, however I said your name. I hope I said it right. But he asks, I'd like to know how and why they came up with the new protagonist and his role in the franchise. And same for the new lore they introduced, new creatures, etc.
Okay, I can answer the first part. Um, we felt that, well, I felt that Garrett's story is done. I think it works in individual missions, but I don't think there is any reason to make a new campaign with Garrett. So I decided to do like what 52X did and come up with a new protagonist. And with Hume, I wanted to show him as just a cog in the machine. He's insignificant. Nobody cares about him, and nobody should. Unlike Garrett, who likes to think he's just a cog in the machine, but he's not really. So there's a kind of difference between the two in this regard.
Yeah, while Garrett is an anti-hero but still a hero, Hume is a victim of
Yeah, that's right.
of the machine, as we said. Yeah,
And to your point, also, Skacky mentioning earlier, like with an individual mission, you could be like, well, Garrett robbed this house, and we just didn't see it. You could kind of have that suspension of disbelief. But when you have a campaign like this that you guys have made, where there's all these things happening, and you really have like a more involved story, obviously, it's kind of hard to suspend your disbelief that something else like this could like happen to Garrett, like you said, with his story being finished.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening with Broken Goddess with Connell.
yeah. That gives more freedom in matter of story and the topic you want to bring in your story as well. If it was a campaign about Garrett, you could not make it a tragedy.
Well,
Yeah,
you
without
could, but
undermining his character.
that's right.
I think, and it gives you more freedom also. That you have this fresh character like they did in Thief 2X as well, and I think that was actually a good decision. And here also that you can see this world from a totally new perspective, and you can accept that he doesn't know certain things where you would be like, oh yeah, but Garrett should know that, or like Garrett would have a different view on that. But here you can form your own thing, like a new piece of clay you can form individually.
Yeah, and also we wrote Hume to be much stupider than Garrett. And there's a lot of things that Garrett would never do.
Yeah. Whom is, unlike Garrett, not thinking about danger. He tend to trust a bit too easily
Oh, yeah.
or rush to the danger when Garrett would be like, that's maybe a bit too dangerous. I would rather do something else. Like the 5 mission is a great example. In the same context, Garrett will just say, the wall fucked off. I will hide somewhere in Shalwich and you will never find me again.
Especially if you play the campaign after 5th gold, because he's learned his lesson.
Yes.
So
But-
Hume is basically Thief 2014 Garrett.
I wouldn't say that.
No, sorry, I don't want to insult anybody.
that's almost an insult.
Also, I
But-
find it funny to think about like if all these fan campaigns were canon and like exist in the same universe, we have an increasing number of protagonists who are just armed with blackjacks and hammers that just are like knocking people out. Sorry, I find humor in that.
Yeah, and who can hide in the shadows really fucking well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Concussions are the number one cause of death in the city.
Oh, yeah.
And they are all wearing stilettos.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's you gotta go through Farkas's shop and you gotta buy your 5th shoes.
Exactly. But I want to add, nonetheless, Whom is still a human. When he bump into God, the God will notice, while Garrett can touch you every time, everywhere, you will never see, you will never feel.
Is Hume? Is it basically a French name?
No.
No.
I named him after the philosopher. For no reason.
okay.
I just like the name. That's it.
Okay, yeah, but it's cool, and you can remember it, and it sounds a bit like human, and it's cool. I like Hume, but yeah, it doesn't matter. The next question is from Arako. I could recognize in the game some creatures that were cut from Thief, but others seem new, like the Shoggoth from Lovecraft or a Miswrath from Mistborn. What was the inspiration behind those creatures?
FIREMAGE, this is all for you.
Yes, so indeed, I have reproduced most of cut creature from Thief since the Black Beret is the letter law for Thief Gold, so it was obvious I had to implement in Black Beret my Forgotten Creature project within it, so we could see these creatures. But also, I've added some other creatures, so this one was quoted indeed the Shoggoth from Mission 10, the weird black snail with yellow eyes, which is definitely the Shoggoth from Lovecraft universe we have wanted to reproduce in order to add to the surreal atmosphere of this new world. And for the rest, I must say the inspiration depends on many factors. Sometimes it's just about giving some more diversity. Like, for the examples, if I take the broadsword, the guard armed with broadsword or axes or halberd, these are for adding new challenge for the player, as even if it's still a melee attack gourd or distant attack gourd you see, the fact it's new, it will make you more worry about them. So you will be maybe more cautious, you will discover something new. And it can also help in matter of diversity of enemy. Like, for example, in the wall, I have placed in the main staircase a spearman, so you could notice it and see this staircase leads to something important, and indeed it does. Same for the mages. The important archmage Kailis, from whose you must steal the key. The fact he has a different shape and a different ability to fight you, it make it feel more special. So I would say the inspiration is either for diversity, for new gameplay and discovery, or for gameplay purpose. You notice more easily the key spot, the key part of the mission, or just find the enemy which will give you the challenge necessary depending on the environment. For example, in mission 10, the crawlers, you know, the purple larva you fight in, I've made them because the sugars is very large, so it cannot fit in every environment. And also the sugars cannot be killed. So I needed to create a new creature which could fit within that environment and be hostile to everyone. And that's when I decided to create the crawler. And the reason the crawler looks like a larva is just because I love every kind of creatures from the abyss or from the bugs. And because I like the zoology, then I have some source of inspiration of a creature I know which truly look like monster or aliens. And then adding these in Thief fit pretty much as it gives some weird vibes, you see, like if it's strange, special, unknown, and then it makes the player either worry or curious or frightening in front of this new creature. Mission 8 has been a really good source to play with the supernatural genre, even if I must admit there are creatures in Mission 8 which were not created by me but by Schluck, who also have a great inspiration matter of monster and critters. Squidward also does have interesting ideas as well.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, the inspiration is from the nature or from gameplay purposes. Any question?
No, that was a good.
No.
That was a
lecture
It's
over.
comprehensive. It's
no.
comprehensive.
That was a good. Yeah, no, that was a good, nice, thorough answer to that question. So hopefully the person asking that will be very pleased.
So the next question is from Witcha. And Witcha says, it's not a mystery there are hints of Black Parade characters that draw on older fan missions. Now, you guys mentioned that you had a Google Doc that you were keeping lore in, but I'm curious if you guys had any methodology for picking which lore you drew on, or if it was just sort of favorites. How did you guys parse through all that?
Well, it's mostly me writing this document, and I went through it pretty meticulously. So pretty much every fan mission I liked, and even the main game, I would write down the names of people, names of places, dates, and all that kind of stuff, and then just compile it. And we would just pick stuff that we liked, really.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
But we have a whole compendium of like people and all that kind of stuff, and also all the city districts, like which are actually divided into quarters, and then no, hang on, no, they are quarters divided into districts, divided into wards, and we have names for all of them. We have descriptions for all of them, and all that kind of stuff, and everyone who like governs them, and also the criminal underworld associated to this area.
So what I'm hearing is that you have the largest compendium of non-canon lore, and you haven't shared it with the rest of the community yet.
That's right.
Yeah. And there are also things we discuss in our Discord during some conversation, which we keep in mind because we have seen it, re-seen it again and again, and then it stay in our mind as well.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is, like, maybe in the future, if more and more fan missions maybe take the Black Parade as canon, and maybe adapt some things from that, or make some hints to this. I think that will be interesting to see. because I think this whole thing woke the community up. I think it's really great to have some new elements, that you can take as a basis for some ideas. And yeah, would be interesting to see if something of that comes back.
Yeah, I honestly, one of the main things that make me not really want to release this is just having the magic broken. So you know everything there is to know that we used. I would rather have people come up with their own theories and interpretations, and then drift from that into their own thing. Just like we did, really.
I didn't mean that you should release this so people can take that as inspiration, but the Black Parade is a huge thing with its own little universe in itself, and so I wonder if maybe something of that would get weaved into other storylines. Maybe
Well, I
I'm
hope so.
wondering.
Yes.
That would be really cool.
I think that Snake's mission actually references some things from Black Parade. I don't really remember, but I think so.
What was his mission?
It was a thief's training, I think.
Yeah, released this year, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Yep, very recent one. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, cool. Yeah, but let's see. It's a thing for the future. But of course, people want to see like all the things that were going on in the background. So it's always interesting. But I totally agree that it should be kept safe. So it's not too much, and the magic is still around.
Yeah, maybe the best we could share could be the quarters names, wardens names, and date. Eventually, since those are not based, are more practical than theories.
Mhm.
But for the rest, yeah, we may keep it as theories.
Yeah, plus we have a map of the city in the game that you can see with everything about it. So it would make sense for us to release that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so you had a huge map of the city for your purposes.
Yeah,
so that
that's right. And also, in Mission 6, there is a map room with a map of a city and map of Bone, and I wanted also to draw Blackbrook and Cyric, but I was too lazy for that.
okay, I never got
Yeah.
that far. I don't know. You know what the worst thought for me was when I knew who was working on it and I knew in what direction it will go from the gameplay Thief 1 style. I was like, I will never hear my work I did for the voices in the whole game.
Well, it's a hybrid, really. Black Parade. It's not just Thief 1. There's a lot of elements from Thief 2 and even Deadly Shadows that we liked very much and we wanted to put into the game.
I
Yeah.
agree and I disagree at the same time. I think it's good because in my beliefs it's like there are Thief 2 guys and there are Thief 1 guys, and I think this game totally is in going into the direction of Thief 1.
Oh yes, overall,
Yes.
yes, for sure,
And
absolutely.
what I think
actually-
Yeah.
it's what sorry, let me finish that. What I think is it's good because we already had our Thief 2 campaign 20 years ago. Thief 2X has it in the name, and I think it is more leaning into the Thief 2 style. And now those Tethers who didn't, who prefer like Into the Odd and stuff like that, now they have their campaign, and I think that's just fair, and I like it. Of course, you have like more advanced technology now, and everything is better, but still, it's great that those guys now also have their campaign.
Yeah, but I must say Black Parade can also be a campaign for those who are into Thief 2 because the greatest thing the Thief 2 player dislike with Thief Gold is the fact Thief Gold is very adventure oriented in matter of gameplay. There are a lot of fight you have to do in Thief Gold, and these aspects people tend to point out in Thief Gold are not present in Black Parade. In Black Parade, you can ghost all the missions. We ensure it's possible since Marbleman and me, for example, we do play in the ghosting style when we play a mission. So we can tell it's possible to ghost in Black Parade. So Thief 2 player who are more into the ghosting aspect, you enter in a mansion, nobody see you, you take the loot and you leave. Well, it's possible to do it in Black Parade. So if you like Thief 2, you can like Black Parade.
Yeah, there's a few missions that we made deliberately after Thief 2 style. For example, missions 3 and 7. They are very inspired by the Thief 2 approach of places that actually make more sense as a living space rather compared to, for example, Baffert's Manor in Thief 1, which is bizarre. I mean, we still have strange things, but these two missions are more like normal and mundane compared to like mission 2, for example, which is insane.
It's always a
Yeah.
matter of taste and what people would call Thief 2 style. But yeah, I agree with you on that those missions are more basic or based down to earth, I would say. But for me, it's like, no, for my personal feelings and how I look at Thief 2 and Thief 1, uh, I would disagree that it has that Thief 2 feeling. Won't say that Thief 2 people can't have fun with this campaign. I'm totally not saying that, but I think for me it didn't totally not feel like anything Thief 2.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Ah.
talking in terms of mood, right?
Mood, you have so many on it, and when you say mission 3 is like a Thief 2, you lost me in mission 2 because it's a crazy mansion,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh no, into the yard again or something like
Mhm.
that. And I think people who follow the podcast for a while, they know what I prefer, and then there are others that prefer different, and that's totally fine. So
Well, that would be where you and I differ completely, right? Because I love Into
yeah.
the Odd. My experience of it was that it feels very much like you took the surrealism of the Dark Project and the industrialism of the Metal Age and the claustrophobia of Deadly Shadows and retrofitted Thief Gold with all three of those things. And I think that you did that fantastically.
Yeah, that's a pretty good description, I would say.
Yes, that was the intended effect. So thank you for these words.
But that's interesting. He has a different view on that as well, or as me. So his how you Seth received everything is different from me. But that's cool. I think I like that. And for me, it was like I had really to work through the game, which was a cool experience because, of course, I wanted to experience this huge campaign, even if I knew this isn't really my cup of tea, but I still want to taste it, And the more I got into it, it was great, and maybe for me it was even greater that I achieved certain things I would normally skip. And yeah, that's a huge achievement, I would say, that you could maybe lure people into that would normally say, I don't know, but this time it's like I want to do it.
Yeah, I think to agree with you, Alex, like I'm also a little bit more of a Thief 2 player, but I enjoy the Black Parade a lot because I do feel like it's challenging me, like it's more challenging than base Thief in a lot of ways. I like that you guys made it so that you can ghost everything. That's really cool. And I feel like I am really being like I'm seeing things that are familiar, but I'm being put to the test. So even though I'm more of a Thief 2 player in terms of my preference of the style, like you said, Alex, I'm like, this is so good. And I'm like being like so engaged by all these like new things I'm seeing. And I'm like, I'm going to keep pushing through. And it's enjoyable in that regard too.
Yep, and it's a great experience from what I really love is that you come to a place and normally or often you have a huge place before it to explore and on different ways to get into the main objective or object. And yeah, so it was very intriguing and it got me. I played it today again, and it was a different experience than the first time I played it, and it's cool.
Yeah,
Great
that's
job.
one of the things that from 50 that we wanted to have is like you get this entire area before you enter the place you need to infiltrate. And we actually used to joke a lot about Hume being the smelliest thief in the city because every mission has sewers.
That's true.
Should have worked that into the audio.
Maybe you should have named him Perfume.
Yeah.
Ah,
There he is. That joke's
I
incoming.
smell a little tougher.
The next our former regular from the podcast, he always, I think I thought a lot of him because he hates sewers, because it's breaking the immersion for him, because then he imagines Garrett, or in this case Hume, running around wet. And
Mhm.
I would wonder what his opinion is on that, but I think he can overlook that because of the rest. So Jake, I think Soft Roberta
Yeah.
is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of modify this a little bit. So Soft Roberta is asking, basically, was the approach to adapt controversial missions like Mage Towers, Haunted Cathedral, and Bone Horde, seeing some parallels and submissions in the Black Parade to their fullest potential, and what was the approach to doing this, if so?
Well, it wasn't an adaptation. Actually, some of these we wanted to completely avoid doing the same thing. But when you make a catacomb, it's gonna draw inspiration, draw comparisons to the Bone Horde, and when you make a sealed section mission, it's gonna draw inspiration, comparison. Sorry, again, to the Haunted Cathedral. But we kind of embraced that, especially with Mission 5, which has references to like the actual cathedral. And for the Mage Towers, I hate this mission, no secret, but I really like the premise. And I'm like, I have a Hand Brotherhood, and I don't want to go back to the Mage Keep. I mean, it's not really well designed. It's kind of ugly. So you know what? Let's make a castle in the city, and that's another one of their castles, and let's make it good this time. And I hope we did well.
Do you think what I
May
was
I
going to say
ask
what was
something? Because
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
how is it with all the comparisons? Are they good, or do they annoy you a bit sometimes?
Not really. I mean, they don't annoy me all that much. I'm actually kind of happy. I've read someone say that they didn't really. Well, they played FIFA 1 and 2, and they played the Black Parade, and the missions from the Black Parade made them like FIFA 1 more. So I'm happy.
That's true.
You mentioned earlier that you said you were trying to avoid certain things. What kind of missions were you trying to avoid? Was there any things that you kind of were like, okay, this is off limits. We're not doing this, because you kind of hinted that there were some things you kind of maybe set down that you didn't want to do.
Yeah. So for Mission 4, there was one thing I didn't want to do at all. It was like octagonal vaults, like the Bone Horde. Because it's like both tombs were built by Hammerites, but I wanted them to feel different. We still have a
Yes.
few octagonal areas, but it's not like the halls of echoing repose from the original mission.
Was it more of a aesthetic thing, like not wanting to visually look like, or was it more of a design thing? Because obviously, sometimes like when you're in a circle, you can get kind of turned around and get lost, as a lot of
Yeah,
people
it's
famously do.
it's these two things, and um, Mission 4 was supposed to be more claustrophobic and actually more vertical as well.
Yes. This was supposed to be some Bone Horde, but more horrific.
So you basically also took inspirations from the original and tried to give it your unique touch, or like, was it like, hey, I see the approach of the mission, but how it worked out in the original games isn't my style, or maybe I think I can give it a better approach in your tastes, or
Well, we didn't want to make remakes,
of
so
course I didn't,
Yeah.
but the inspiration, I think.
Actually, it's more a question of we pick a theme
yeah, theme,
and we
yeah, that's
say
right.
we want this theme, and then from the theme we create the mission with the goal set up inside. And during the process, we have a vision about how the mission will looks like. The fact it looks like a mission from the original game is more like a coincidence or just a normal reaction to want to compare it with the mission we could connect it to. Like, objectively, if you check on Bone Horde and compare it to Mission 4, they have barely anything in common except the fact they are maze-like and contain undead. But the rest, traps are definitely not the same. You don't meet the crit the same way in Mission 4 or the catacombs, and even the location of these areas is different. Bonehorde happen outside the walls of the city, or looks like so, while Mission 4 happen directly within the city. To the point we end up in a casino at the very end. So Bonehorde is turning into Thief Guild. Then it's at the moment the comparison looks like something with a nonsense.
There is
Mission 4.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yes, I was almost done.
So,
I was just about to say, it has its own personality.
yeah, one thing we did concede though is the locations for the secondary objectives, the sapphire necklace and the gauntlet. We made them in separated vaults, just like the Bone Horde.
So I think maybe to put a nice bow on Sofferbird's question and kind of summarize what I think what you said, FireMage. Like obviously you guys are limited on themes, like right, like you can't have Hume like walking around on the moon or something like that, or a tropical island. Doing things like tombs and towers and castles is similar to the original games, but it wasn't an intention to say like, okay, we're gonna remake this or that. It was just you're pulling from the same themes while showing a lot of creativity within those themes. If I
Yeah,
understand right.
and so, yeah, sometimes we play with player expectations. For example, Mission 2 is a perfect example. It's like you have the briefing, you're like, oh, this is a manor break-in. Then you get in front of a manor, it's like, oh, are you fucking joking? It's Baffert again. And then you get inside it. No, it's not.
No, that didn't work on me because I knew who works on those missions, and for me it was like, when do you do your thing? The first mission was like, I would say for me it felt like a typical SKACKY-esque city mission, and then the second one I was like, will they do their thing here already? And they did. And so for me it was like I was just waiting for the mission, where it's like going down for me personally. Not that the mission is bad or anything, but for me it's like when I'm like, oof, here we go again. Here's their thing. And but it was but then you gave it your very own your very own style, and it was so intriguing, and yeah, it was really cool. The feelings, I went through, the whole thing was amazing, so it worked emotionally for me. um I love it. um
And of course, so just to finish up with this topic, actually, Mission 4, and after I'm done with talking about Mission 4, the only thing we took from the catacomb, actually, when you think about it, is just the private joke about the ball grade that we took and changed into
yeah,
a sword
that's right.
upgrade and made it real this time.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only thing we have taken from the original game.
Yeah, that's right. And I distinctly remember when I wrote the document for this mission, I wanted it to feel like an adventure game, like an old CRPG, really. So that's why the sword riddle is in. And once
ah.
once you solve it, you have a cool undead slaying sword for the rest of the campaign.
Yeah, I could imagine that you had fun with that. Um, that's the thing, since people are aware of you, and the community knows who is working on that. I think you imagine you guys differently. Like, oh, I think, I wonder if they thought that when they were creating this, um, or you're like, ha ha ha, I think they thought this is funny, and stuff like that. And yeah, it's cool to hear what the inspirations were, and what your ideas are. So we are in the design and technical challenge department, and again, Snake wanted to know, the briefing videos and cutscenes and overall art design of the project are very high standard. Oh yes. Could the team talk a bit about how this process was achieved? What programs were used to make the cutscenes? I think you already said that with the Adobe, but maybe you can
Mensch,
go into that deeper.
yeah, because Mensch to use Adobe Final Cut for his animation. But for example, I did the cutscene for Mission 5 and the final cutscene of the campaign, the outro. And for those, I used different tools. I used, in my case, After Effects and Premiere. Also, from Adobe products, and we all use Photoshops for work. I don't know if we can use Photoshop or if she use another program to draw. I'm not sure to remember. I know within the team for texture, some of us were using Paint.net to do their work for the texture. But yeah, for anything related to briefing and cutscene, we mostly use the Adobe software to make it work. For After Effects, for example, I found this one pretty much useful for the morphing animation of the artworks or images I needed. That's how in Mission 10, I have been, for the Mission 10 cutscene, sorry, I've been able to make on the close up view on a home face the ability to move his lips exactly like they did for thief characters when they are talking in cutscene. I took the artwork Wicca made for me, and then I have started to deform the face of the artwork of whom in order to make his eyes blinking or his lips moving. The rest was just to synchronize animation with the voice.
But FireMage, this time you didn't have to jump from a table with a bed sheet on you.
What?
Didn't you film that for one cutscene? Sometimes wasn't it you that made some Garrett silhouette in your garage? Wasn't that you?
Yes, I made it was
With
not
it-
in my
with-
garage. It was worse than that. It was actually in my mother living room with my brother.
Ah, yeah.
We have taken a green drop from the closet. We have hanged it where there were normally some curtains, and then we have filmed each other. We have filmed ourselves with our phone, and a camera to have a better render later, so we could create the silhouette for our animation. And it was a lot of fun, but also a lot of retry because when the light is not great, it's hard to cut off the green background because of our own shadows. But yeah,
But for Black Parade, you didn't have to do something like that.
yes, it was just at some point when I was done with the silhouette recording, I found out I was missing some silhouette for some cutscene, and in this case, I just drew the character and then animated them with After Effects again. So I just had to really play with the detail in order to make these drawn silhouette move like if it was actual recorded people silhouette. But someone with a close eye may notice when it's actor and when it isn't. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yes, but I think in general, I was sitting there every cutscene. I was like in awe, like, wow, this looks like from the original, but still with its own touch. And I think the whole artwork and cutscene departure is so incredible. And I was always sitting there like, wow, how did they do it? And yeah, it's really amazing work. I'm still impressed. I watched through it today, and uh, yeah, it's very impressive. You did such a great job, so thank you for that.
Daniel
you.
Thrawn 2024.
Yeah,
I would love to, honestly.
Definitely.
So Tarhiel, shout out to the Elder Scrolls, asks, what was the workflow like since all of you, I suppose, have day jobs? How did an ordinary week working on this Megamod look, and what did you do to make sure you moved forward the pieces that needed to be done?
Well, there was no schedule, so anyone was free to work at their own pace. Sometimes you would have people not doing anything for months, and they would come back and just power through it like crazy. And really, it was more about keeping our motivation intact to finish this thing, which was tested on several occasions.
Yeah, it was very hard, and we have to say, even our real life had its own impact on the project, as in 7 years, there are a lot of things happening.
That's right.
I can imagine.
But I can say, because we talk about our schedule and the way we were working, I must say, in my case, most part of time in Black Parade, I was like, you see me around for a few days, then I have an idea, I disappear for weeks, and then I return with something unexpected.
Yeah, that's how the entire festival in Mission 9 came to life, really. It's like, so we have this map and we want to populate it, and we don't really know how to do it. And FIREMAGE is like, oh, I can do something. And then he goes silent for like 3 weeks, something like this. And he comes back, hands us this, and it's like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Like going into his little laboratory where
Yeah.
no one is allowed, and then he comes out with a great potion.
Yeah. There's also another thing I want to mention is that so the 4 original members of FIAD are in France, but then we have Schlock is in the US and Doug Boga in Australia, and we can cover 3 different time zones like this. And sometimes we would do like a 3-way ping pong between us, and we would work really efficiently like this.
Oh, you guys were
Yeah.
doing game jams, but like
Yeah.
around the clock because of different time zones. That's very smart.
That's right. But I mean, also one thing to mention is that, like, if we ever do something else in the future, I would have some version control, because I was like a manual build release manager, and I would do everything by hand, and it caused some problems.
Yes.
One of my questions was going to be if you used any version control.
No, we didn't, and it's something that needs to change if we do something else.
Very brave. Lessons learned.
Oh yeah, I was just too lazy to set something up, but it's easy to use. You just have to pay for the server.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it overall worked for a long time.
so Skaggy, with
Yeah.
FIREMAGE, you had a great personnel for that, because I know we all know what FIREMAGE is capable. Just saying, Builder's Paradise, and FIREMAGE, you did a lot of work on that, if I hear that right. Have you been like a
Yeah.
project lead at a certain point, or
Never a leader. Never a leader. Sometimes I can bring up some ideas, but SKACKY has always had the final word. I'm not one person who is used to take decision. I'm more like following,
Well,
unless it's my own project.
I didn't always have final word. Like sometimes you would outnumber me, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna concede this. You're right. Let's do this your way. But near the end of the project, I was more like a producer rather than a lead. Like there was this really cool tool called Miro, which is like a Google Doc, but you can just do whatever you want. It's a participation tool, and I used that to keep track of all the bugs we needed to fix and all the things we needed to work on to make sure that this was as perfect as it could be. And it's an excellent collaborative tool, and I wish we had it back when we started. It would have probably made things a lot easier for some aspects.
Miro whiteboards are the best thing since sliced
Oh,
bread.
yeah. It's really cool.
I think David Riegel told us about a bit how they did it back with they had a huge list, and I had to work on that, and then people disappeared for a month and didn't come back, and then they did, and stuff like that. Sounds very similar. So maybe that's how projects like that go.
Yeah, and it's like you don't want to be tyrannical. I mean, people are working on pretty much your project for free on their own time. You just cut some slack,
Yeah, surely. So Descendo Vox, what mission or element required the most revision to reach the desired end state? Were there particular locations, loot, etc., that required especially heavy adjustment to hit the desired difficulty? Any hackery fixed stories you'd care to share? Yeah, you already talked about the acrobatic keeper it was.
Yeah, but honestly, I think the mission that needed the most revisions was mission 10. Like this one was a pain in the ass, and in the end, it's like the less well-received mission in the game for good reason, and that's how it is.
Yeah. The problem with Mission 10 is a mission in which we actually had no really idea about how to create it. Then we had, I think it was Dear Bogan who made the big job on it.
Mhm.
It did something great and good looking, but it was design for design. So it was beautiful, but we had no idea the way we had to explore it. So at first, it was just a vertical maze, which is good. But at the end, we found out when you know the road, the rest of the mission go to the west. You have no reason to explore it. It was a bit a pity. So we tried to find solution to encourage the player to find their way around by exploring the place, such like using the force field and forcing the player to search for keys to pass them. But again, yeah, definitely free result. Let's be honest, it's still not enough to encourage people to explore it. So that's for the reason many players got a bit disappointed by this mission. It's a mission which shows it has potential, but we didn't find the right way to use that potential,
Mhm.
and we're a bit sorry about that.
Yeah, one of the
And,
one of the main problems with it is like it's also constrained by the story. Like we need to wrap this up, and
yeah,
loot is useless at this point. You don't have to steal loot, you know. So we were like, so okay, the path to Azeran is easy. How do we make it more interesting? And we came up with the ideas of ingredients that you need to collect. And I've seen some people on forums and elsewhere like, oh, I don't understand why they didn't have us pick up the ingredients from the different rooms in the map. And that's actually what we did, but it was even worse. So we just okay, let's just cut this and make something straightforward, and
yeah,
that's the end. Yeah.
yeah. Because when the ingredients were where they are supposed to be, we found out it involved the player to backtrack their way every if they ever missed something. And considering the last room, the jump you have to do to go up there, going down again to search what you've missed,
Hmm.
is actually just a source of frustration. It's not fun. So we
Yeah.
had to think another way, but we didn't find this other way. So we just have gone, oh fuck this shit, we have to finish the mission. Let's let's put all the ingredient at the top of the tower, so you don't have to backtrack. Get away with this.
Yeah, and
You win.
also we had a few testers who, even without this objective, were already lost. So it's like, oh, if we put this in back, it's gonna be even worse. So it's a case of damned if you do, damned if you don't, really. And again, designing final missions in immersive sims is just so hard.
Yeah,
Especially in a
because
thief game.
Yes.
yeah, because in most of game it's quite easy. You expect a boss fight. You have to take lots of items and throw the shit out on the boss, kill it, and enjoy your victory. But in Thief, this is not how we play.
Hmm. And also, we didn't want to make another Soulforge Cathedral. Because personally, I love this mission, but I know that a lot of people hate it, and we didn't want a final mission to be too difficult, too long, too complex.
You did the mazes before, so it's fine at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in mission 4 already, like I was lost and all those creatures everywhere. But it's interesting to hear like how many things you have to consider, b- even just for small things. And as you said, some things some typers came up with, why didn't you do it like that? And you actually considered that, but it didn't work out. And how is it when you then read, like when people are maybe complaining like, hey, why didn't you do it like that? And are like, we did, but it doesn't work. Is it frustrating or?
No, not really. It's like it's just how
It's
things are, really.
it's understandable actually. I'm pretty sure if I play a game in which the final mission do not encourage me to explore the whole place, well, the whole the whole campaign was doing this before, I would be like, guys, what are you doing? I was supposed to explore the whole thing, gather things, and then get the work done.
Mhm.
And then, well, if I discovered all the ingredients are just right here, a few feet away from the destination, I would be like, hey guys, where is the challenge? Did you forgot the key on the table or something?
Yeah,
You know,
that's the thing.
yeah, and it's like, designing the final dungeon for your role-playing game. It's like you have all of this panel of abilities and tools and all that kind of stuff you can do, and then final dungeon is just combat. You're like, well, I'm a diplomat. I don't fight. Well, fuck you. You gotta fight now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you feel like
even professional games have those issues?
Oh, yes.
And
I mean,
yeah, I think
I-
we
I-
saw that in Thief 1 and 2. Like the final things are always very underwhelming. The final
yeah,
missions, how it
it's
turns
always
out.
it's always extremely difficult to finish a game. Like one of my favorite games is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and the final fourth of this game is just so terrible
Is that
because
when you are in sewers and you kill vampires all the
no,
time?
no. That's the middle of the game. Final act of the game is in Chinatown, all that kind of stuff. But it's full of combat.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, and it totally takes you out of. Yeah,
Yeah, I
can see the
usually stop.
challenge.
Yeah, I usually stop playing the game at Chinatown because I've already done all the things I wanted to do with the game.
Lucky
Uh,
that you didn't have a deadline by a publisher or anything. So I think that was the issue with with vampires.
yes. Also, I mean, one of the best things about working on a mod like this is you're just free to do whatever you want. You have no budget, no constraints, nothing to answer to. So it's really liberating.
Yeah, and
Do you
very
think-
patient community.
Do you think it's ultimately kind of going back to what we're talking about? Like, I feel like with stealth games, that's like the ultimate design challenge that's very hard to solve. You see, like, obviously in Thief 1, Thief 2, games like Deus Ex Human Revolution, like, you have a game where you can do things in a stealthy way or not engage in combat. It's really hard to find a way to have a satisfying climax that doesn't involve completely throwing away the design of the game that you just made.
Yeah, I think that Thief 2 did it well, because when you design like a final map, you're like, oh, you are gonna have to use everything you learned in the game to beat this. And Soulforge is exactly this. The problem with Soulforge is that it's too big. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And
It's too big and it feels empty at times.
Yeah.
You can see it has been ruined not by the idea, it has been ruined certainly by the lack of time.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
I
You
mean,
can definitely feel
you
it.
you can cut Soulforge in half, and you would still have a compelling level. It would be a bit better, a bit better experience, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I know we obviously see our Soulforge episode for more information, but yeah, I think the design of that, like you're saying, Skacky, like the intent to kind of have it be more of a gauntlet of everything you learn seems like, in my opinion, the way that you handle that in a stealth game rather than like, now you're going to give the player a bazooka and have them, fight down some big giant enemy, which obviously design wise just doesn't work.
The Maw of Chaos
Yeah.
did try this in one section when you are crossing the giant platform of lava, and you have crystals to the side with shadows, and you have to stay in the shadow because otherwise the crystals are going to shoot you. But it's the only time it does this, and it's so easy to avoid that it's like not even a challenge.
Yes. To me, the only game involving stealth mechanic and being an MSIM which did manage flawlessly to give a satisfying ending is Deus Ex.
Mm.
As you can win without actually engaging any combat. And that could be a great inspiration, but it's not easy to implement. Actually, it's more difficult than we may expect.
Yeah.
Was it criticism in Deus Ex Human Revolution, right? When they first released it, that the boss fights are just fights.
Correct.
Yes,
And
and
then they fixed it with a patch.
Yeah, and the final dungeon was also more combat oriented than others. So if you're like me and you
Yeah.
played a stealth character who didn't kill anyone, it's like really difficult.
I play the original version Human Revolution, and I got very disappointed when I found out I was almost soft locked because I took no ability related to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, how the heck am I supposed to pass this guy? I'm not good for fighting.
Especially that
Yeah.
woman that can teleport. That was horrible. Yeah. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
let's not get distracted too much. Deus Ex episode one day.
Yes.
So Jake, you can go on with the next Descendo Vox.
Sure.
Yeah.
Descendant Fox says, excuse me, are there particular fixes or changes implemented in Black Parade that you'd like to see folded into the general fan mission toolkit or design framework going forward? He names things like listening, the chain step sound, bump detection, new guard weapon behaviors, or various items as examples.
well, all that
Ye-
stuff. Yeah, I would love to see in other missions.
Me too. It's true when you come back to other mission and step onto a pipe above the ground and hear the clinging sound of metal that alert the whole quarter, you're like, oh shit, why it's not Black Parade?
Yeah. There's one important thing also is that this is something that Dirk Bogan started doing, and we all did it in the end. Every interactable door and vent is transparent, so you can actually see behind, and you're like, okay, this is somewhere I can go to, and all of the uninteractable ones are opaque.
Yes, that's also a feature that would be interesting. In addition to another one, which is pretty much weird when you come back from Black Parade to other game, it's a bumping detection.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you play too much at Black Parade, the bumping detection at first come as a new challenge to solve, as now when you're too close to a guard, he will turn around, which add some difficulty. But it's also a feature which can be used at your advantage. Like a guard is patrolling, you bump him at a position so he turn around, and then you take this opportunity to pass behind him while he's turning around. This is a feature which was very useful to use when I was playing Black Parade. And that's also a feature I would love to see in a lot of missions.
Yeah, you can actually mess with guards this way. It's really funny.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and there's another thing that I would love to see in other missions. It's the dogs.
Dogs, yes. I will always repeat myself on the Dromed server, but I always invite people to just scavenge Black Parade and take any resource they want. I made this object, this animation, and I definitely don't want them to just stay stuck in Black Parade. If I can see all these scripts, all these models, all these animation in people missions, I will definitely be glad to see it.
That's great, and I think that's the power. Oh, sorry, Seth. I was
I
going
was
to
going to
say
say
real
the
quick.
same thing as you're about to say.
Go ahead, you say it then. Go ahead.
I think that's the way a community stays alive. You create resources, you share them, you share your inspiration, and you know, people carry that into the next work. So I think that's fantastic of you to say.
Exactly.
But where can
Yes.
people get, the what is it, scripts or something? Where are they available? Or maybe I missed that.
You can get the script within Black Parrot directly as it's Quarrel script, so it's not compiled. You just have to pick the nut file you want.
From the
You just
games folder, from the.
from the games folder,
Okay.
indeed.
Okay.
You just have to make sure you don't miss a dependency, because that's maybe the only mistake I did with my scripts. I've made them as a file with dependencies between them. So for an effect you're interested to, you might need another file or a piece of code you might need. And I didn't add the comments in my code. That's also a mistake I did. Maybe one day I will find the time and the will to to create all these commented scripts so people could take the script they want for the effect they want. As yeah, I want this to be a gift to the community. It has always been my desire.
Okay, very cool. Um, the next question is also from Tariel. How the hell were you able to implement quadruples? I'm sincerely curious, no exaggeration. Can you first maybe explain what quadruples are to the people who don't know, like me?
Well, it's just animals which walk on 2 on a 4 paws, 4 legs.
That's meant. Okay. Yeah.
So it gathered the horses and the dogs for the term of quadruples, but we can say most of custom creatures which are not humanoid, I think. For how to implement the dog and the horses, it was quite simple, while not being simple to do, but in matter of idea, I mean. I have found out this idea when we were working on Chalice of Soul. I don't know if you remember, in Chalice of Soul, there are one weird creature, a shadow, a flat shadow, which looks like a casted on the floor.
Yeah, it scared the crap of many players.
Yep.
Yes. When I've made this shadow, it came from a mistake I did when I tried to export an area. I have accidentally exported an area with a bad rotation of 90 degrees in a horizontal position compared to the floor. And when I saw that and saw that humanoid in game, I just found out, wait, in Dark Engine, the engine give no shit about how the bones are placed. It just wants to see if the bones are present for your creature chip. So, if your creature type does have the adequate skeleton, the game will accept it and play the animation the way it can, depending on the position of the bones. So when I have found this discovery, I just started to think about how to create new animals such as dogs and horses, which to me were definitely necessary in Thief, as we do hear dogs, we do hear horses, so they exist in the city. So why not showing them in game for once? So
Showing them off at the first mission around the first corner.
yes. So after thinking about this, I just had to select the greatest creature type to fit with quadruples. At first, my idea was to be simple, just take humanoids. But then when I worked on the horse, I just found out the trouble. Because for humanoids, for the head, you only have a bone for the neck. So it would mean the neck of the horse would move and its head will always have the same orientation. So you will have a Playmobil horse-like. And I don't want my horse to look like a Playmobil in matter of animation. So I look at the other creature types, and then I found out, hey, the spider does have many limbs, many of them. The only trouble with the spider is it cannot fold its torso. But when I looked at how a horse is running, I just found out the belly and the torso are not folding a lot. Also, in low poly, you will not notice. So, coming from that constatation, I just decided to use the spider type creature as a base. So, my dog and my horses are spiders type creature. They are just spiders. I just moved the bones and the skeleton of their body in a way the horses will move its head and its tail as its legs, of course, and have a whole custom animation set in order to move and behave like a horse. So you will never see any animation played by the spider when you see a horse. So my spider look like a horse, move like a horse, and you will never know it's a spider in disguise.
That's amazing. Thank you for telling that so detailed, and thanks Tile for the question. That was really interesting, and I like how it started by accident and how you work those things out. That's really amazing.
First things first, I'm never gonna sleep again, now that I've heard that horses are spiders and dogs are also spiders.
Yes, and Shoggoths are also spiders as well.
My dreams are ruined.
But
So a wreck parade is it basically?
fun fact, I think there is only one mission in Black Parade in which there are no spider.
Yes, I think so
Which one
too.
is it?
I don't remember which one. I think it's maybe mission not 7, mission 9. I
Yes,
think
I
it's
think-
mission 9 is the only mission with no spider.
I think so.
Okay,
Yes.
so we need to send Martzek a DM and tell him to tag every mission on Thief Guild with the arachnophobe tag. Except mission 9.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
people are looking for spiders, and they're like, there's nothing. But of
They
course,
have to listen-
everyone will have to listen to the podcast, of course.
Exactly. They have to
Yeah.
listen to our informative podcast here.
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
every Taffer does.
But people must not worry. The Cobraman and the crawlers are humanoid. They are humans.
The spiders are not in the room with us right now. They can't hurt us. I'm going to segue if you guys don't mind. So we have a question from PY Taffers. This is for the two of you specifically.
That's Konrad the Marzek, the creator of thiefguild.com.
Speak of the devil. As people who basically mastered missions building over many years, if you could improve one thing about Dromed, what would it be?
UX, definitely.
Well, to me, it will be more deeper in matter of feature. I want really new dark creature. If you can de-hard code the creature types so we can create of our own, I will be very grateful because it's very annoying to have to deal with the creature types that already exist to make your own creature or animals. Unfortunately, each creature type come with each bunch of hard-coded features such as the size and the position of hitboxes. And if only those could be not hard-coded, it would be awesome. So
Yeah,
that's the improvement I want.
There's a lot of hard-coded features that would be nice to be able to modify and create new things with it. Definitely.
So we want Dromed with blueprints.
Honestly, that would be pretty neat, I think.
Yep. Yeah, my experience with Dromed was the same. I would love to have something like a blueprint system in Dromed.
A little sidetrack here. There is this engine in the making that's based on the Dark engine, but way easier. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, the Unreal one?
Oh,
you
I'm
guys
not
know what
aware
I'm
of that
talking
thing.
about.
No, not really.
Oh,
Oh, you mean the Force engine?
yeah,
the
exactly.
Thing, yeah, whatever. I'm not into it so much, but
Yeah.
are you looking forward to that?
I
Or is it maybe
haven't-
too
I
late to the
haven't-
party.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I haven't kept an eye on. I didn't keep an eye on it for quite a while, but what I saw was pretty impressive in terms of like shadow rendering. I remember, but
Yes.
there was this project a while ago. I remember YouTube videos of it. Some person was working on like an open source dark engine, and they had an entire dynamic shadow system that looked amazing, and it just disappeared. It's so sad.
Like many things, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean they had like shadows, like deadly shadows. It was really impressive. The videos were from the Ramford Manor running interference. I remember that distinctly.
Ah, yeah, I know. I saw something like that as well. Yes.
I don't think the videos are around anymore, but it was very impressive back then. It was before New Dark too, I think.
Maybe this guy made New Dark after all.
That's a mystery. But it also came from France, as far as I know. So there's a lot of talent over there. So, Seth.
Yes. You want me to
Sure.
carry on?
Yep.
You got it. So we got Lauren 4701. We're moving on to lore and story elements that are more specific now. So in Mission 2, where old faces fade, Lauren says this is probably the single best fan mission Thief fan mission I've ever played. Can you talk about the process of designing that particular mission and what went into developing Halford's amazing and surrealist mansion?
Okay, so this is really a question for Schlock, but I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. So I will read you something. This is an excerpt from the document that I wrote all these years ago, and it says, "Where all faces fade is what appears to be a classic manor break-in. Expect dark corridors with tile and carpet. Base material should be dark, damp-looking, flickering lights, etc. The ground and top floors are wealthy with the classic buffered yellow bricks, and beyond this point, however, things get weird."
To say the least.
Yeah, so as I said before, it was supposed to lull players into a false sense of security, and it's like, okay, this is buffers, I see what you're doing, and it gets bizarre very quickly. So Squada was the one who started the mission first, but we hit a snag very early on. It was like, this mission is too complicated to do, especially considering I wanted it to feel small, claustrophobic. And then once Schlock was into the team, he was like, "Oh, I want to do this," and it was perfect because he had just made Shadowplay, which is very similar to Buffered, and this one had the added element of like pagan weirdness to it. And Schlock would make all of these crazy stuff, areas and concepts, and all that kind of stuff. That was amazing, really, and it ended up being mission 2. And what the funny thing with Schlock is that he's pretty indecisive. So it's like, I'm doing this, and next day, no, it's shit. I'm gonna do it all over again. But no, it was amazing. What are you doing?
Yeah. He also has some good taste in matter of lighting, colors, and details. That's what I love with Schlock's style. Like adding the petals as SFX, it was a very impressive idea to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely Schlock was the guy for this mission. Definitely. And it's even more impressive when you know at first the idea we had at the beginning of the project of Where All Faces Fade, we imagine a buffer mission with weirdness indeed, but we were expecting subtle weirdness or tiny magical tricks here and there. And Schlock came with this idea of the inner forest, and it was very amazing.
Yeah, it's something that we embraced very early on. It's like, okay, you're doing this for us. Let's make the entire middle of a manor like this sort of indoor glade with a river in the middle. It worked beautifully.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that you guys impressed one another, which shows how much talent is in
Oh
there.
yes, we keep doing this. It's really really good for like motivation. Actually, it's like we're trying to outdo each other, but not in a competition style. It's more like, oh, you have this crazy thing that you showed me. Just let me cook for a week and let me show you what I'm
Yes.
doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to bring the best on the table. Actually, we don't try to be the best of the team. We just want to contribute the best.
Mhm.
I think when there's egos involved, then you get problems. But I think you guys, as far as we can judge it, chose the best things you picked. Besides, no egos involved.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely conflicts on some things, but overall, it was pretty smooth sailing.
But I think it's a difference if it's like just an opinion or if it's like an ego. Like
You, you, you have to know the team has almost broken because of a tiled floor.
Oh yes, the famous tile floor.
Do you
Oh
want to get
shit.
into that or not?
Yeah, sure. So you see, in Mission 7, there is this big ballroom, the walls ballroom, and the tile floor is grimy. And I'm like, I like this tile floor. It's like they just had a ball the other day and they didn't finish cleaning, and some people were like, no, you need to change this. It looks like shit. Like like a load like the wall would never have like dirty tile floor like this. in the end, we kept it, but we added a servant with a map.
Yes.
Okay.
but I mean, discussions were heated, like you wouldn't believe, just for one single tile floor.
Yeah, group projects work like that. So we go on with Mark Rippet here, where Dubi, Tadir, and Abubtiar members of the Hand Brotherhood, whatever. If so, why are they and their artifacts buried near the city?
So yes, they are mages, and the reason why they're so far from the city is like these people were scholars and explorers, and there is a lore reason why the mages are attracted to the city and why there's all kinds of magic stuff happening there, which is touched upon in the campaign a bit. It's a bit
Yeah.
subtle and vague, but still, it's still here.
The story is kept with a dark lore you don't know for a good reason to give the community the ability to tell more if they want about these characters. But overall, you can deduce Dubij lived in a different time than Teddy and Abuktiar, and maybe Teddy and Abuktiar lived at the same time for sure.
Yeah, Abu
Since-
Tiar is probably the most ancient of the three.
Yeah, since Tedir possesses his tablet,
Mhm.
and Tedir is certainly a very powerful mage who certainly explored the dark arcane who nobody knows the deepest.
Mhm.
And certainly, Tedir at the end of his day was almost crazy, almost mindless, and has certainly be contacted by entities you will never know the goals nor the identity.
Dubij is the youngest one because the Highwatch Castle where the mages are was acquired like maybe 20 years before the events of the game. So he was laid to rest here. So yeah, he's pretty young compared to the other two.
Yeah, you can also see his corpse is not even a rotten or nor a skeleton.
Yeah.
So you can see Dubij is almost contemporary to whom and the rest of the city.
Yeah, it's just the trinket he has on him, which is much older than him.
A question I
Yeah.
have is, who came up with those names?
Maybe Squada or I don't remember.
I don't know as well. Maybe you and maybe Esquada, but I mostly think about Squada because Squada is good at finding good names
Yeah.
like this.
He's extremely deep into the language.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
I mean, you can tell
Okay.
when he writes something in the game and when I write something. Our styles are completely different, but I think that's it's good actually that they are different.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Different authors of those readables. Makes sense.
Yeah.
You have different voices.
And very good ones, I want to say.
All right, if
Hope
I
it's
may.
not the clap.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. So we have a couple of questions next from Descendo Vox. I'm going to ask them one after the other. So the first pertains to Mission 5. Is there any plot significance to the cursed book, which is alluded to in readables, or the strange floating face found beneath the waterways in the sewers?
Okay, so the book is a red herring. There's nothing about the book, and actually, we might have, well, we should have, just discarded it really from the readable, because I've seen people like inspecting the canal, and it's like, no, there's nothing here. Don't worry about it.
I
And
don't even remember the curse book. To be
oh,
honest.
it's from the guy who's writing about his expedition. It's like, oh, we found this book and we just tossed it into the canal.
Oh, okay.
So people are going to go look for it and never find it.
Yeah,
The mysterious book.
and
is lost forever.
the floating face. FIREMAGE can answer this one.
This one is more an Easter egg than an actual enemy. It was actually in case some smart player will find a way to fall down the pit and survive and get soft locked. So I gave them an ultimate challenge, which would work like some sort of boss fight, which will either finish the player so they could reload their game, or for some reason the player would manage to destroy this enemy engines and then be rewarded by being teleported back up in the playable area. So yeah, the floating faces has no signification, no plot. It's just an Easter egg to give a second chance to player who survived the fall.
And this
That's all.
this one's actually a cut enemy too, because he was supposed to be in mission 8, but we never found a good area to put him in. So it's like, okay, let's just put that in mission 5 all the way down the drain and let people discover it.
It's a
Yeah,
great way
and
to reuse an asset you wouldn't have otherwise used.
Yeah. And I think this one is actually the asset. It's like the texture itself is from the base game, I think. It's just unused.
This creature, like the black equivalent with red eyes, are two enemies that are vanilla. They are from the original game. They exist since the Dark Project. They are just unused. That's all. That's unused creature from the original game.
Speaking of cut content, Descendo Vox is asking also if in Mission 10, one of the readables hints at a fairly complex alchemical system, and he's wondering, or they are wondering, if there were any cut interactions that involved these locations.
Yeah, this is where you would find the ingredients.
Yeah. Even if I must be honest, we made a lot of time to agree about what to do with these ingredients. What are they? It was very complicated. It was.
Yeah,
I will say the word a mess.
yeah, and also tying them to the items you need to grab throughout the campaign was just a real writer's mess.
Yeah, I think
Too
sometimes
complicated.
over the course of development, you realize that some things are not going to be as important as you thought they were, and it's just kind
Yeah.
of smart to cut them.
But the thing is, we were just way too late into development, and we would have to go back to a drawing board on a lot of things that there were no time. It's like, oh no, we're not gonna redo this. It's just too late. Let's just, uh, make peace with it and keep it.
Yeah, it's one of Thief's strengths though that you can reuse design elements as readables, right? Like it's just a good way to disperse narrative. So I think it was prescient of you.
Yes, I can agree with that. Let's say the plot itself and the goals change through the development. We discovered plot holes, and we also changed the ideas we had about some items or objectives, such as the three amulets. These one were supposed to be involved in the ritual at first, and then we decided it was actually maybe not a good idea as it doesn't feel logical or right. So we came with the ingredients, but at the end we have the ingredients and the items. So at the end we were like, damn, now we have more items to deal with and we don't know what to do with those.
Yeah, and there were debates about what where their purpose was. So they went through so many rewrites, and in the end, it's not something that's very satisfying, but it's the best we could do with the with this context.
Yeah. Though for the three powerful items, I'm pretty glad with the idea we finally found at the end.
Oh yeah,
Just use them as a key of despair.
yeah, and it kills every undead in the manner too, which is pretty funny. But we
Yeah.
did this, I remember, because we could get killed by them during the cutscene, I think.
We could be killed by them during the cutscene, indeed. But also, I consider it was also interesting as it give even more despair to the situation as you find out they are powerful item. They are good at their work to be item designed to counter any necromantic magic, any dark magic. So they were three very important items which nobody can mess with. And you just find out the statue can break them very easily within a second.
Yeah, they're just not good for you.
That also really show you how the statue is a threat, how it is powerful, and how much potential whom just ruined by its attempt to save its life.
It's design reinforcing a narrative.
Yes.
I have to ask. So, Skaki, you are working in the games industry. Are there others that are professionals in the games industry that worked on the Black Parade?
Not directly. I think one person who did UI for us is Kingsall, who's an author for the Dark Mod, and I know that he works in the games industry, but I don't know where.
Okay, no, just wondering, like, because what you just described, the thoughts, like, this sounds like, okay, this is a professional view of that, or could be. That's why I was wondering, like, how much real industry knowledge actually was in the Black Parade.
Oh,
So you're just
no.
amazingly talented, and
No. We just are pretty disciplined, really.
Yeah.
There's no secret to it.
I do find it very endearing that Thief has created so many game designers. I'm one of them, right? So we're all here.
I need to correct my sentence before I was cut. I said, so you are all amazingly talented, and you are also working in the games industry. Yeah, just to make that clear. That was not just "and you."
Yeah, but well, I mean the processes that you have in a production, like for the games industry, no matter what the size, indie or AAA, it definitely helps when you work on a project this big, just for organization.
So, Jake Paul Denton.
Sure. JC's brother Paul Denton 7180 asks, according to Thieves Guild, the final mission, the Black Parade, was the least popular level. What was the intent behind the level, and why do you think it did not resonate with players as much as the others? I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but
yeah. So it was always envisioned as an ascent. So you are at the bottom of this tower and you need to climb it. And it was always envisioned. Well, the first idea I had is like, so you take Honor Londo, but it's all black in the black fog, and you have like pulsating veins, and there's a heart on top of it. And but we were never really able to really make it. So when Doug Bogan was on the project, he decided to take this level, and he made that big tower, which is actually very faithful to the original document. And I think honestly, we would have to go back to the drawing board with this mission if we were to make it great, because it just doesn't really work as it is, and we would have to make it different, to make something else rather than this. But I don't know what exactly. That's the thing. Yeah,
that was going to be my follow-up question. So
yeah, I mean, I thought about it many times, and I just don't have the answer. We'd have to try different things and see what sticks.
Yeah, maybe using some more teleportation features, maybe.
I don't know.
I myself don't know really how to make it more interesting without actually remapping the whole layout.
Yeah, it's like it's like, there's always some things to improve on the other missions, but it's always small things and just minute details. But for this, it would have to be redesigned entirely.
Yes, we got the spirit, but not the perfect layout for what we want to do with it.
But I mean, I might sound overly negative, but I'm still proud of the mission itself, especially considering it's the last mission, which is always so hard to design.
I think it fits the Thief theme. You don't want to disappoint Thief fans, because the last mission has to be not the best, but not the well received. So good job.
But well, there's also one thing to consider with the rating is, I think, the ending, like the story's ending actually. And when I think about it, it's like, yeah, the storyline is really dark. If I were to do something else, I wouldn't write something as dark as this anymore. It's too depressing, too cold.
Okay, so Sapley1071 and also Snake were asking, is there ever going to be more missions with Hume? Will the Black Parade team continue to make missions for Thief either as a solo authors or as collaboration?
Well, considering how Mission 10 end, it will be very hard to give him more story unless we go back to the past before he got sold by Delquist. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to make more mission about whom.
But I mean, there's nothing preventing you, mission authors, to use Hume in your stories. Like, I mean, we have our ideas of his fate, but we don't show it explicitly in the video. So, if you
Yeah.
think that he survived his events, I mean, go ahead, make missions with Hume post Black Parade. We will be very happy to play them.
Yeah,
is the
definitely.
voice actor easy to contact?
Oh yes,
That was
Andy.
gonna be
Yes.
my question.
Yeah, Andy is easy to contact.
But FireMage, you wanted to add something?
Oh, yeah, we're just about to say, indeed, if we, the fan industry, we won't make more mission about whom, or we have less chance to do so, any fan is right to take our character and make their own stories about it. We don't involve a copyright on this character whom do not belong to us. It belongs to the community. So if you want to tell a story about whom, or if you want to tell whom did survive for whatever reason, go ahead, make your own story. We're fine with it. You can also, if you want, make a mission in which you play Dalquist. If you want, you can do anything you want. It will be fun to play as Dalquist, eat pie, and sit in front of your fireplace while counting the money. That would be fun to play.
Yeah.
I feel like that would feel sort of like a Mastermind sequel.
I think, FireMage, you are the guy who can program and design that whole thing, so do it.
Dalquist Simulator.
Dalquist Simulator. Eat pie and skim in the shadows.
The Dahl Project.
The Dahl Project.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
10 out of 10.
he gets sent to Crackslift in Endless Rain, so you can have a mission with him escaping from Crackslift somehow.
Crackslift Simulator.
escaping Crackslift.
Crackslift Simulator, where you sit in the cell and you carve the number of days on the wall.
Oh, that was great detail in the hemorrhoid section where there's the cell. Oh, that's I need to ask that. It's the guy in the cell.
Kikiro!
Cicero, was he? Is that like I replayed Skyrim recently.
No.
And there's Cicero, and he sounds a bit familiar, but no, it's not. Okay.
No. He's actually a friend of mine. He does this Joker voice for his friends, and I was like, oh, he sounds perfect for like a cannibal. So these are some lines, and
I won't jump your face, promise. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because I thought of that because of the carvings on the wall were in nice detail.
Oh yeah, he's counting the days, right?
Yeah, if you manage to make him escape and trigger the alarm, Cicero will deploy a rope arrow above your face so you could escape.
Yeah, that's right. I
I
don't think anyone has found this.
No,
because Cicero is too stupid to survive.
Yeah,
so unless you have knocked out every hammer.
It's a very particular sequence of events. So what you have to do is to free Cicero, make sure that he goes where he's supposed to go safely, and then you have to go into the reliquary, grab a chalice, ring the alarm so you get stuck, and then vent opens above you, a rope deploys, and once you get out, there's this message on the ground that says Cicero pays his dues or something like this.
Wow, that's really cool. And what a shame that it's so hidden, but that makes it cool.
But at one point, Cicero was just like a killing machine. He would kill everyone on sight. But he was nerfed dramatically.
I think that's also, just as a fellow game designer, that's a beautiful way to stop the player from getting soft locked. I just want to shout out to that.
But he's really stupid. He always lies around the corner of the next like the stairs up, and then he's lying there for me all the time.
Yeah, he's stupid. I mean, he
And
eats
he has
people.
no weapon.
So at the end, in order to make him escape, you have to knock out every hemorrhoid, but then you lose the interest of having Cicero saving you, because at the moment you will steal the chalice and ring the alarm. Since every hemorrhoid are knockout, there won't be any hammers waiting for you next to the grid. So when the gate will reopen after a second, you won't have any hemorrhoid charging you, so you can escape from the main gate, actually. So his help is very useless. But hey, he try his best.
There's another thing like this that we did, but we had to cut for technical reasons. So in Mission 9, there is this laboratory with the Etten, the two-headed ogre, and you could actually lock yourself into his cell.
Yeah!
And we had special game overs with this, depending on what you did.
Oh.
Yes, it was just because there were a bug we had no time to fix. But if we fix the Black Parrot, we start with this one because it's worth it. Because actually, this soft lock had one game over, but 3 different cinematic. If you lock yourself up in the cage next to the 18, well, the 18 will go in front of your cage and tells you you're dead. So the screen go black, you lose. Okay. If you kill the 18, then softlock yourself. You will see this time Yarodo coming in front of your gate and tell you you should have escaped when you could. So game over, same cinematic. And if you knock out the 18 and Yarodo, it will just be a guard coming to your gate and saying you will die, and then the screen again go black and you lose.
It's a shame we had to get rid of it because everyone laughed when we saw that.
Yeah, that was very a great way to solve a soft lock.
But I love how much fun you have talking about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you still had access to the resources, I don't know if you've saved them or not, it would be really funny.
No, we just need to... It's just about plugging the script, really. This one is still in the game.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. Also, there were a part of the question we just ignore. I just noticed it was about if Fire Industry will do other missions. And to this question, we will just answer yes. Fire Industry will still produce mission. We won't tell when, we can't tell what, but we still plan to work together. That's for sure.
Maybe you can support Random Taffer with his project. Wink, wink.
I'm actually doing textures for him right now.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and that's already the case, actually. Indeed, I'm not as involved in Broken Goddess as I was in Black Parade, but whenever they need some clue about some technical point or resources, I can provide.
And also, Marble Man is one of the main devs in Broken Goddess.
Indeed. Yeah. He's in the project.
Yeah, they worked very successfully on the Feast of Pilgrims, so...
Oh, yeah.
That's a good indicator how that will turn out.
Definitely, yes. Definitely.
Seth.
Yes, chef. Well, I'm on the last question, and I don't want to let you go, so I'm going to split it into 2. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And it's not really the last question. We have some from Waika as well. But
my bad.
The last main question.
All right. Well, in that case, I'll ask the pointed one first. If you could do things differently or change anything about the development, what would it be?
Remake Mission 10.
Yes. Yes.
That's the only thing I'm not really happy with. The rest is as I envisioned it, even better. So I can't complain. And and also I just want to make sure this isn't a diss about anyone who worked on Mission 10. It's just the mission itself has fundamental design problems.
Yes. Mission 10 has very good vibes very good ambience. It's just the way we can play our way to go to victory, actually, which is not satisfying.
Mhm.
But
not to
also
just.
about
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Well, I would just add, in addition to Mission 10, I would also say the Secrets of Clock for Mission 9, and also making the Acrobatic Keeper his way back, and of course, giving the 18 the ability to be more a threat than just an enemy who got many HP.
Yeah, and it's a shame he dies pretty easily despite his huge amount of HP.
Yeah, even if, fortunately, for those who follow my activities I show on the Dromed server, for the 18, I found an interesting way to fix it and make it interesting.
Mm.
I've made a video about it where the 18 is able to grab Whom by the neck and throw him away in the room.
Oh, that's
What?
amazing! I didn't see
That's
that.
really cool.
Yeah, it's on the Drome server. You can find it.
This guy is a nutcase because there is this Azaran. When he sees you, he causes you to kill yourself, and he does this with a crazy animation.
Yes.
One thing you should have changed is that dirty marble floor, I would say.
Oh yes,
Just to put some salt into that wound for the others.
but we would have to remove a mopping servant, and I like him.
Yeah, he would still make sense because the floor is already cleaned, which would make totally sense. That's why I couldn't. The Black Parade is great and all, but 2 out of 10 because of the marble floor. That's
Well,
it.
if we have a clean floor, we would have to have like dynamic wet footsteps following you. So it's like, oh no, the floor.
Not
we
to
don't have
mention
we don't
shiny
have that
particle
after
effects.
sewers. So in the Thief universe, it makes sense to come out dry of any wet puddle or whatever. So no need for that. But I think FireMage can do a script for that.
Don't test me.
And then it's like shadows following you or something like that.
But it's actually a mechanic I thought about, like wet footsteps that disappear over time. But
Nex would have loved that. So
yeah, but the thing is, as FireMage said, with a tracking potion, you create a ton of dynamic objects.
Yeah, and if you create too much object, you will have Dark Angel waiting for you with an axe in the corner, and you don't want Drome to wait for you with an axe in the corner.
Yeah.
So FireMage, you chose some. Do you know? Is it Waika, Witcher?
Well, since it sounds like the name used by a category of witch, if I remember correctly, and we call them Wicca, I pronounce it Wicca, but
Wicca.
maybe it's not a reference to those, so maybe it pronounced as a way, but I've always pronounced it Wicca.
Yeah, because I always pronounced her because she provided already some questions in episodes, and I always said Waicha. So Waika,
Yeah,
Wicca.
I do say white chat too, but maybe it's wrong.
She never complained. So, but I know her because she gave us a very great question at Dana Nightingale's episode. So sorry if it's wrong, but we stay with Waicha. So for FireMage, she had one question. I think the horse question was already answered. Basically, she says
Yeah.
the human animations are great. Like in Mission 3, there's a blacksmith smashing the hammer, not on the human flesh or crossbow guy, but all of the animations were over the top. Did you use for reference fiction like actors, or you went through looking at people doing the act for job? I would also ask for the horse. I think horses are really hard to animate. So did you watch videos, or how did you nail it?
So that's pretty much the idea. Yeah, for animals, I have watched for videos or watch at some people who share on their art page the different frame of animation of creatures. I sometimes also use frames used in some old video games in order to reproduce the animation. But for whatever I had to have a more specific humanoid animation, the source inspiration is just myself. I just move around, reproduce the movement, and just give a close look of what am I doing. Like for the hammer right smashing the hammer, I was standing next to my desk, holding object in my hand, imagining it was the hammer and the pincers holding the hot object to shape. And I was producing the movement and looking at my arms and looking at the movement I was doing. And that's from these references I could just reproduce them in 3D from what I saw, what I felt.
It's amazing. I love that. Just how I imagine that, how you do that. You guys should have made a video documentation of the making of the whole thing.
Thank you.
Well, it's just sitting at our computers for hours on end.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, just streaming like the Discord chat, right? And yeah, I think the black chipped animation cutscene question you already answered at the beginning. It's a mix of real life footage and animation, if I got that right, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That's the case. That's a mix of the two.
Also, I mean, if we had to show videos of our Discord discussions, you wouldn't understand a thing because we have our own vocabulary that developed over time. Because we spent so many nights working on this, and our brains were mush, and it's like whatever. We have some words that don't mean anything, and we just laugh at them.
You had dev language.
I mean,
Yeah.
Tolkien had his own dictionary for his book, so I think you could have added that. But it's fine. It happens in our heads with all the things you described. I think it was detailed enough so we can make something out of it. So, Seth, you want to do the cozy question?
Yep, I'm selfish and I wanted to save the best for last. So, guys, this is a snake question. What are you guys the most proud of? When you think back on the entire project, Black Parade, from start to finish, what's the thing that you have warm, fuzzy feelings about? What are you the most proud of?
The whole thing, really, the whole experience was among the best years of my life.
Yes, I think there are no answer else than this one because there are so much things that have been tried, discovered, experiences, felt. It's hard to pick one of those things and say that's the thing I'm the most proud of.
It's
because
like, yeah, go ahead.
I think the question also goes to me because I'm part of the Black Parade team. Yeah, I am proud of one thing because I'm not proud, but I'm so happy that it happened because there's one voice actor. I'm not talking about me, a real actor.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Inside, and that happened through the podcast, which was amazing, and I'm so
Oh,
happy
yeah.
about it today.
Yes.
Should we say it the name? Yeah, I think we can, right? That Daniel was eager to provide some lines.
Yeah, that's right. And it was really amazing to have him on board with us, and he was so eager to do all of that stuff for free. Like,
yeah, and he did just not a few lines. He did 2 voices, and that's
right.
very
Yeah.
impressive. That's very much more than we could have expected.
And the thing is, he's an incredible voice actor because I just gave him like some basic directions, and he just delivered amazing things that were already. Well, you could use them right away in the game. They didn't need any fiddling. It was really impressive.
Yeah, he really nailed it. You see, you definitely recognize the talent behind his voice acting and the fact he has experience in this.
Oh, and there's one thing also with Daniel. So just after the podcast we had together, he messaged me, or I didn't remember, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna show you some screenshots of what we're working on, and I showed him, among others, one of the pictures from Mission 6 in like the city section with the factories and the fog. And he told me this is the vision we had for Thief, but we're never able to fully do with the technology we had. And this was, wow, an amazing comment.
Yeah,
I don't
it
think
gave
you would get a
us
better
so
endorsement.
he's
yeah,
great at encouraging people.
it gave us incredible confidence in what we were doing.
That's the thing about Daniel is I don't know if I said that once, but uh he changed my way of thinking of about life and people. I had long talks with him, sometimes 2-hour discussions about politics and stuff, and he's like the humblest person I've ever met,
Mhm.
at least online. So I didn't meet so many men on the internet, but he is a very good example of that. And yeah, I can totally imagine the way he's always very supportive and positive, and I can imagine when he says something like that to you, that it must be like a gold medal. Um, from one of the original guys from the original team. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool.
And there's one last thing I will say also with the project as a whole, and I think we all felt this in the team, is when we released Black Parade, we felt empty afterwards for quite a while, and we couldn't
Yeah.
touch Dromed for months, and we had no motivation anymore. It's like this huge thing was out in the wild, and we poured so many hours into it, and it's like you're gonna fly by yourself now, you know?
Yeah. For example, in my case, I returned to modding in general just a few months ago.
hmm Yeah, I started fiddling with Dromed again, like I don't know, like a month or so ago.
But yeah, that's when I made music back in the days and an album was released, it was the same. Like some month you was just like, okay, this thing is off your shoulders, and you need to do something else. And yeah, there was an emptiness, but also it felt very rewarding. How was it? Who uploaded the Black Parade, and how was the feeling? Like okay, now it's up there, and then you released it. How was that feeling?
I uploaded it to my Google Drive, and also I think I had Brethren uploaded to South Quarter, and I uploaded it to ModDB as well. And the story with ModDB is like there was no way we could have won. Well, we could win Mod of the Year. I mean, it was in November. There were like 20 days left, so I was like, okay, this is not gonna happen. And then I'm at Christmas, at my parents, and I'm on the couch just being lazy and watching TV, and I open my phone and I'm bombarded uh, by someone, one of my friends who's like, "Dude, you just won Mod of the Year on ModDB," and I'm like, "What?" It was insane.
Yeah. We barely even believed it when we saw the results.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I've been using ModDB for a decade, like even more than that, and it's always there's always so many incredible projects on this, and it's an accomplishment really to have won this.
Yeah, and do you think of the relatively small thief community you always have in mind?
Yes.
Even if they all vote, I would have expected, like, yeah, even then it wouldn't be enough. But yeah, I think we all voted. I did. I think Seth and Jake did.
Yep.
We all voted.
Yeah.
I think SKACKY and FIREMAGE did.
No, I didn't vote.
Oh, really?
No, I actually never vote for my own stuff. I don't do that.
A thief of honor.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not that honorable that I voted. In my case.
I mean, at least you're honest. Nobody can say you're not honest.
That's right. But he's a mage. He has to be honest. My conception of mages, I don't know. But yeah, it's an incredible achievement. And as I said at the beginning, what is amazing, that it brought in new Tethers or long gone Tethers, from what I saw. And I think this was a great spotlight for the community, such a lighthouse project. And my question is, how was the reception you received? Of course, most people were praising you, but was there some constructive things you consider as, oh yeah, this was really eye-opening or something like that?
Yes. There's a lot of very true criticisms. One of which is the game. Well, Black Parade is playing it a bit too safe with the mission design. It's like very just like the original game, and what we worked on to make sure that it was a pleasant experience, one of the things was to make sure that there is diversity in the settings, but not necessarily in the objectives you have to accomplish. And if we do another project like this, it's definitely something we're going to change. We want to be more experimental.
That's what I felt. For example, sometimes it felt like a checklist. Okay, we need a
Yes.
we need a hemorrhide mission, we need a city mission, we need a mansion mission, and stuff like that. I think that's something I also read from others. But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, but basically everything in Thief, all the themes have already been explored, and there are just some very fitting themes. And you gave it a unique twist, like the casino. It's not something you would expect. And yeah, so I think it's very critical criticism if you want to find something.
Yeah, this is so on the casino specifically. During development, you could actually enter the catacombs through the casino. It wasn't locked, but we found out that it was actually better as an endpoint when you had to return to the surface, and it
Of
was a nice
course.
break from all the spelunking you did. It worked much better this way, and I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
really works. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, even if we took many themes appreciated by the players, we also always try to make the experience more special than usual, even if it's the same type of objective. Um, for example, Mission 7, we have tried to make a mansion, but a mansion with a lot of change, and we added the specific objectives such as dropping a corpse into the mansion, which is not a thing you see a lot of time in missions.
Yeah, and we also have the don't steal any loot in Mission 9.
Exactly. So we tried something new, even if maybe we could have been more groundbreaking. We also always try to provide what you know, but with a little change. So you definitely understand we are not mocking our players. We are trying to provide something with the least quality that might be expected. And well, that's for this reason we do have criticism, which is definitely constructive and definitely a criticism we will accept. We rarely see criticisms that were not constructive in the criticism we receive. Most of people, when they dislike something in Black Parade, they say what it is exactly and for the right reason. We had almost no haters in matter of Black Parade. That's pretty lucky for us, I think.
But that's the Thief community, I would say. I think that's what we are known for. That the criticism basically is very constructive and not like just a bad comment. I think that's something that is different to many gaming communities.
Yeah, but outside of Thief on Twitter or on YouTube, I also rarely saw people getting very non-constructive in their criticism when they had to say something they didn't like about the campaign. Most of the criticism were pretty right. Most of people were saying the weak point was Mission 10, and they are definitely right. But yeah, overall, after all, the outcome are pretty much positive. So we definitely don't have to complain at all about the outcome of this project.
Yeah, and even then, it's like one of the comments that returns a lot is the story is pretty weak, which I agree with. I mean, none of us are writers, and we went into something a bit too complicated for its own good. It should have been a bit more simple. But still, I mean, when you take the entire thing, it's not really that much of a problem.
Yeah, and if we take this criticism, even the people who posted this criticism, most part of time, do not define it as if it was full bullshit or well done. It's not the best thing, but it's a good thing. So why will we complain about it? That's positive.
Yeah, it's like
People.
the story is just a pretext, really, for these missions. So if it's at least serviceable, I mean, the job's done for me.
Yeah, the job's done.
And
Exactly.
again, we poured a lot of our efforts into the background lore and all that kind of stuff. This is where we are the strongest in terms of writing.
Yeah,
If
and
I'm
basically, I think the gameplay is what you nailed. The atmosphere, all those details. I just remember there's one also in the Hemorrhoids mission that there's just a storage room in the basement, and you come inside and it's so full of detail. And as I said, I know how much effort you put in this and how much eye you laid on the details. And I think the story is also great. The theme is cool, and you introduce interesting enemies, and and it worked. So and you cannot do everything perfect, but I think the things that were most important to people, you nailed that, and you even made us go, wow, that I've never seen that in a Thief 1 or 2 game. So yeah, great job.
Yeah, we wanted every room that you can explore to have a story. Sometimes it's told to you, and sometimes it's just very subtle or not told at all. But it's like, okay, this place has a history. I don't know what it is, but it spooks me, you know?
And you had great
Yes.
readables, I have to say that. Most of the readables, or almost every readable, is really interesting or adds something. But it's not those cheap things like, oh, I lost my key in the canal, and then okay, now I go down there and I will
Yeah.
find it. That's
If we
it.
do this, we always had some fluff to like not justify it, but it's like, oh, this is just something that's not the main subject of a letter sometimes.
Yeah,
to make it a
exactly.
matter of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But you were mostly, people praised the whole thing as far as I overlooked it, and
Yeah.
for good reason.
Again, it exceeded our expectations.
Yeah, to me, the word that really touched me the most was a comment made by not one but a few players who said whenever they played the campaign, they had the feeling to rediscover the game. That was to me the kindest word we could have ever read.
Hmm. Yeah, there are people who consider this one canon as well, like a fully fledged game.
Yeah, it's for me it is like Half-Life Blue Shift, something like that. Like you guys are like a different studio, like that were hired to build something in that engine for the game, that adds to it, but from a different person's view, and with its own unique twist. And that's what you did.
Should have
That's
picked the name Gearbox after all.
oh, please don't.
I also wanted to say too, I think it's important to remember that like obviously making games and making levels is really difficult. So I mean, I think the fact that any game gets made, anything like this, especially something where you guys are obviously doing this in your free time and this is kind of, secondary to your main jobs. I mean, it's incredible to me that video games all get made. I know that maybe sounds a little bit, reductionist, but so when we talk about sort of criticism of games, I think it's important for people to keep that in mind that, stuff like this is really hard to make. So not
No,
that things
you're.
can't be improved or criticized, but
Oh yeah, you're right. Like making a game's hard. Making a good game is even harder
Oh,
for
really?
It's
plenty of
amazing
reasons.
it's amazing that any game ever gets released.
yes, that's what I feel like too. It's like I play games and I'm not a game developer. So as a as a player, as an outside perspective, I'm just like knowing a little bit about what goes on and what you guys have talked about here today with art and programming and coordinating with their people, especially as a side project to your main gig. I mean, it's really incredible that stuff like this gets done at all, and that it comes out good is even is a different story. So I think people should maybe just take that into perspective. Not that criticism is not warranted in some cases for games and projects, but
And working in a shitty to use engine that is hundreds of years old. And
that too. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it,
That's just
yeah,
love.
Yeah.
archaeology you did there, active archaeology. Yeah, but
Archaeology, that's a word.
but I think that sums it up very well. And I think we could come to an end now. First of all, thank you, Jake and Seth, especially Seth for working on the document with the questions and everything. And of course, thank you, FIREMAGE and SKACKY, for all your really detailed and your answers and how you answered them. I felt that you really had fun, talking about it. And is there any last words you want to add about the Black Parade to the community, whatever?
Yes, I would like to thank everyone for playing Black Parade. And I mean, if you didn't play it, then go play it.
Give it a try. We promise it's 10 mission of fun. Made with love.
Made with love, yes.
Okay, and my last words are overpriced shoes, overpriced boots, overpriced everything. See you around taverns. Thanks for listening, and bye-bye. Oh, wait, I didn't want to leave. Overpriced food, overpriced boots, overpriced